What if the Great Depression never really ended? What if it just upgraded, went digital, and learned to hide in plain sight? And what if the very same architects who blew up the global markets back in 1929 are right now, quietly, rewriting the source code of money itself? They're preparing for a new kind of collapse, one that doesn't just wipe out your savings, but completely erases your financial freedom. Because in 2025, history isn't just repeating itself, it's reloading. Take a look around. Inflation is surging. AI-driven layoffs are spreading like wildfire. The middle class is drowning in debt, while corporations announce record-breaking, billion-dollar stock buybacks. And while the headlines are busy distracting us with the latest political drama, a quiet revolution is unfolding deep inside the servers of the Federal Reserve. It's a revolution that mirrors the exact playbook that led to the crash of 1929. They have a friendly name for it. They call it the digital dollar. But behind that slick, modern branding hides something much, much darker. A total financial operating system. A system designed from the ground up to absorb private wealth and eliminate your financial independence forever. Before this video gets taken down, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and tell me where you're watching from. And most importantly, share this with someone you know who still thinks it can't happen again. Let's rewind the clock. The year is 1923. The place is Germany. The country has completely collapsed under the weight of impossible war debts. A single loaf of bread costs trillions of marks. Hyperinflation has destroyed the value of a lifetime of work, literally overnight. Does any of that sound familiar? Now, fast forward to today. The US national debt has skyrocketed past $34 trillion. The interest payments we owe on that debt are now larger than our entire national defense budget. And just like the German Reichsbank did a century ago, the Federal Reserve insists that printing more and more money, they call it providing liquidity, will somehow stabilize the system. But that isn't stability. It's the groundwork for digital hyperinflation. Think back to the Roaring '20s. Easy credit was the drug of choice, fueling a decade of apparent prosperity. The Federal Reserve, which was just a little over 10 years old at the time, flooded Wall Street with cheap money. It seduced ordinary Americans into a paper paradise, convincing them to speculate on stocks with borrowed funds. It was a party that felt like it would never end, until one day in October 1929, when the music abruptly stopped. Does that sound familiar? Today, we don't have paper credit. We have digital leverage. We have complex AI-driven financial systems borrowing trillions of dollars against synthetic assets, digital creations that don't even physically exist. And the scariest part, no one, not even the experts, seems to know who is holding the real collateral, or if there's any real collateral at all. The Great Depression wasn't actually triggered by the stock market crash itself. That was just the symptom. The real trigger was the deliberate withdrawal of liquidity, engineered from the very top. The Fed, after years of encouraging borrowing, suddenly tightened the money supply. This move was the pin that popped the bubble. Today, that exact same mechanism is being recoded and repackaged as Central Bank Digital Currencies, or CBDCs. In 1928, the Fed claimed it was tightening credit for the sake of stability. In 2025, it's tightening the code for the sake of innovation. It's the same action, with a different name. And here's where it gets really chilling. When Germany's currency imploded, the insiders, the well-connected elites, used their foreign currency reserves to buy up the nation's real assets, factories, land, and businesses, for pennies on the dollar. When the American market crashed in 1929, circles connected to figures like JP Morgan did the same, buying up the nation's wealth at a massive discount. In 2025, the great buyout won't be for physical assets, it'll be digital. The new wealth will be consolidated through control over data monopolies and through the pilot programs for these new digital currencies. The names have changed. The faces are different. But the mechanism is identical. Every crisis is just a reset of the game, designed to benefit the same small group of players. If you dig deep into the recent white papers and policy documents from the Federal Reserve and the US Treasury, you'll find a recurring term, the unified ledger. It sounds harmless, even efficient. They describe it as a digital framework designed to seamlessly connect banks, businesses, and consumers. A technological upgrade for our financial system. But you have to learn to read between the jargon. It's not about connecting the system. It's about owning it. The digital dollar, built on this unified ledger, gives central banks a power they have never had before. Direct, programmable control over private money itself. Through accounts regulated by artificial intelligence, your money is no longer simply stored. It is constantly monitored, analyzed, and controlled. Imagine a world where your bank account has an expiration date, where your funds can be frozen if you buy something the government disapproves of, or even if you voice an opinion they don't like. Imagine negative interest rates being applied directly to your balance, forcing you to spend instead of save. They'll call it stimulating the economy. They'll call it fighting illicit finance. They'll call it stability. But what it really is the digital recreation of the 1929 margin call, but in reverse. Back then, if your stocks fell, your broker would call you and demand you put up more money, or they would liquidate your assets. In the future, there will be no call. Your smart wallet will just do it automatically, based on rules written by an algorithm. And who do you think is writing that algorithm? The name that keeps popping up in these discussions is derived from BlackRock's Aladdin system. That's the AI engine that already steers over $21 trillion in global assets. It's the most powerful financial tool on the planet, and it's about to become the operating system for your money. In 1929, the Federal Reserve was simply following the markets. In 2025, it will be coding them. This isn't a forecast about the future. It's an analysis of a plan that is already in motion. The Great Depression taught the powerful, a valuable lesson. A crisis is the perfect opportunity to rewrite the rules. This time, they're not just rewriting the rules of the market. They're rewriting the very definition of money. They're replacing the freedom of cash with the control of code. This is the digital endgame. This is the new depression. And it's not coming. It's being built all around us. The only defense we have is awareness. We need to understand what's happening and talk about it openly before the ability to even have this conversation is programmed out of existence. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this and share this information. It's more important than you know. Stay vigilant. Welcome back to the channel. In part 1, we pulled back the curtain on the unified ledger. Today, we're going deeper. We're going to expose how this system actually works and why it's not a new invention, but the 1929 blueprint recoded for the digital age. This isn't just theory. It's happening right now. At the heart of it all is the global liquidity swap network. This intricate web connects the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and the Bank for International Settlements. Think of it as the 21st century resurrection of the old gold exchange standard. But instead of gold, the system runs on digital debt. And it operates through a 5-step process that's almost entirely invisible to the public. It all starts with step 1, debt tokenization. The US Treasury issues bonds, just like it always has. But here's the twist. Instead of investors buying paper certificates, powerful AI algorithms instantly convert these bonds into digital debt tokens. These aren't just numbers on a screen. They are programmable IOUs, digital contracts with embedded rules. This brings us to step 2, swap integration. Central banks take these newly created debt tokens and trade them in a hidden, automated system of liquidity swaps. We're talking trillions of dollars moving every single night. And because these transactions are off balance sheet, they remain completely invisible to public scrutiny. It's a shadow financial system operating in plain sight. Step 3 is where it gets truly futuristic, the AI command layer. This is the brain of the operation. Predictive algorithms constantly monitor the global markets, absorbing volatility by creating what's called synthetic liquidity. In simple terms, this is credit created from future anticipated debt. The entire system becomes a pyramid, balanced not on real assets, but on sophisticated code and predictive models. Now for step 4, and this is where it starts to hit home for everyone. Programmable control. Once central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, replace physical cash, your digital wallet will be directly connected to this system. What does that mean? It means your money could be geo-restricted, usable only in certain locations, or it could be time-limited, expiring if you don't spend it by a certain date. This isn't a conspiracy theory. The Fed's own partners at MIT confirmed these capabilities in their 2023 digital currency white paper. The technology is already built. And finally, step 5, the trigger point. All of this infrastructure is being put in place for a reason. Imagine a major market shock, a sovereign bond default, a catastrophic AI crash, or a geopolitical conflict. This event will be the trigger to activate what they'll call emergency digital credit. Every token, every digital dollar sent to your wallet will come with conditions. Conditions on what you can buy, where you can buy it, and when. That's not a rescue. That's behavior-controlled liquidity. It's a system designed not to save you, but to control you. If this pattern sounds familiar, it should. Let's look back at history. In 1927, the Federal Reserve flooded the global system with liquidity to rescue the struggling British pound. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but just a year later, the system began to overheat from the excess credit. By 1929, it imploded, leading to the Great Depression. We are seeing the exact same pattern returning today, only this time, it's supercharged by technology and moving at the speed of light. And we have to ask the crucial question, who profits? Back then, it was JP Morgan and a small circle of elite bankers. Today, the names are different, but the game is the same. Look at BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Together, these three firms control over $25 trillion in assets. And where are their executives? They're sitting on the Federal Reserve's digital asset advisory boards. They're not just managing markets anymore. They are literally writing the operating system for the future of money. The digital dollar, when it arrives, represents the final merger of the Fed's balance sheet with your personal identity. The old saying was, too big to fail. The new reality is too coded to escape. The AI liquidity models that run this system are already analyzing your data, your spending habits, your location data from your phone, even your online sentiment hits, all being fed into algorithms to predict your risk profile. Your personal behavior is becoming a direct input for monetary policy. Think about the implications. What happens if you save too much money in this new system? You could be hit with a negative yield, a direct tax on your savings to force you to spend. What if you try to buy something the system deems restricted? Your transaction will simply be declined. In 1929, financial fear led to bank runs, with people lining up to get their cash. In 2025, fear will mean wallet timeouts and access denied. Let's ground this in some real-world numbers, because the scale of this is staggering. The US national debt is projected to hit $34 trillion by 2025. The annual interest payment alone will exceed $1 trillion. The global derivatives market, mostly cleared through these hidden swap nodes, is valued at over $700 trillion. There are currently $11 trillion in illiquid corporate bonds just sitting there, waiting to be tokenized and fed into this machine through a process called digital rehypothecation. Already, 40% of all trades on US exchanges are driven by, and most tellingly, over 120 countries are actively running CBDC trials, and almost all of them cite the BIS Unified Ledger as their model. The speed of the system is what sustains the illusion of stability. But one slowdown, one glitch in the code, and the entire thing could freeze instantly. And that freeze, that engineered stop, might be the actual goal. Because what happens after every major crash? Consolidation of power. The 1929 crash led to decades of Fed dominance. The 2008 crisis gave us global quantitative easing and an even more powerful central banking system. The next crisis, the one they are preparing for, is designed to usher in the algorithmic economy. So here is the big reveal, the core truth of the matter. The economy of 2025 isn't collapsing by accident. It is being meticulously recoded, line by line, to erase private wealth and replace it with a digital illusion of stability, controlled by a handful of unelected technocrats. We are standing inside a 100-year cycle. It's the same addiction to debt and control, just with a new user interface. But this time, the collapse won't take years to unfold. It will happen in minutes, when cash, credit, and your personal identity are all merged into a single digital profile. System failure equals total lockout. In 1929, terrified crowds gathered on the streets outside closed banks. In 2025, people will just stare at their screens, displaying a simple, chilling message. Access temporarily restricted. That's how the new depression begins. Not with a loud bang, but with a quiet login error. And when the media and the officials rush to tell you that this was an unprecedented event that no one could have seen coming, you will remember this video. You'll know that the blueprint was written a century ago. Consider this your final warning. The window to understand this is closing. The systems of control are being finalized. Share this video. Discuss it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel before this kind of information is filtered out or labeled as misinformation. The question we all must ask ourselves is this: are we any wiser than we were 100 years ago? Or are we just walking the same path in better suits, staring at shinier screens? Because the moment you fully trust the system to protect you is the exact moment it cashes you out. Thanks for watching.